Parable is from As the Flower Sheds Its Fragrance. Anandamayi Ma is a Hindu saint. The story goes one day a great sage Naranda came to Sri Krishna and said, "What is this actual Maya of yours?" "Maya," replied Sri Krishna. "All right, come for a walk with me." They trudged along for some time when a village came into sight. Sri Krishna said, "I'm feeling thirsty. Will you get me a glass of water?" Naranda went to the village while Sri Krishna waited for him. Naranda entered a house, and the housewife sent her beautiful young daughter to fetch water. When she returned with it, the woman said to the stranger, "Why don't you marry her? She would make a good wife." Naranda thought, "She really is beautiful," and he agreed. They had a son and daughter together and lived in great happiness for several years until one day a torrential rain caused a flood. Water seeped into the house and it started rising. Naranda piled up the furniture and put his family on top of it, but it was to no avail. The water kept rising and the house became submerged. They all went up to the roof, but the water rose higher and higher. Finally, Naranda had to guard his whole family and keep them afloat. The situation was precarious. First, his mother in law lost strength and drowned. Naranda consoled himself. Well, she was old and might have died anyhow. Next, his little daughter was taken away by turbulent waters. My son is still alive, Naranda thought. However, soon the boy lost his grip and disappeared into the rushing stream. As long as I have my wife, I may have other children, reflected Naranda, trying to keep up his spirits. But his wife was unable to hold any longer, and soon she too shared the fate of others. Naranda was getting quite desperate and exhausted, grasping for breath and about to give up and let go. He suddenly found himself standing near Sri Krishna. "What is the matter with you?" questioned Sri Krishna. "And where's my glass of water?" Naranda replied, "Now I know what your Maya is." He was supposed to get a glass of water. This is the spiritual ADHD, as I call it, where even myself with things where I'm like, I'm not going to get mad. I don't care about this thing. I know I don't care about this thing, whether it's work or something else going on in my life that I know it's really in the grand scheme of things not important. But when the moment comes, you still lose yourself in it. You're getting in that argument with the family member. You're getting that argument at work when you don't even like the job, but you're getting in that argument nonetheless. You know better, but you don't do better kind of thing. And it's kind of the same thing here. It's like all he was supposed to do is get a glass of water, and then he ADHDs it and gets married and has a whole family when all he had to do was get a glass of water and go home. And he didn't. He created this whole life, and it's all an illusion because he's back. Some people say that humans were like an alien that is on an acid trip and all this isn't real, and we're gonna come out of the trip and be like, whoa, that was a crazy experience. That's kind of the implication here, that the world, this 3D world we're living in, isn't even real, and that this is just kind of a play. We're in it, and when we pass, we either start again or we move on. And so that this whole world that we're in, even what I'm doing right now, it's kind of just a delusion, just that Maya. Couldn't even focus on the simple task. You wanted to know what delusion was, and the only way to show you was by going through this big long process. And maybe that was the point that Sri Krishna wanted him to see, is that okay, I'm going to show you by you getting stuck in it. This is what it is. Because this was a whole path he didn't have to go on when you're already kind of in the astral realm somewhere else. And then you're getting involved in this worldly stuff with things that we don't even care about because somehow we get pulled in. You tell yourself, I'm not going to argue with this person. But when that moment comes, that you just can't help yourself but get into it with the person, even though you know it's going to accomplish nothing. That's that delusion. That's that Maya. You can't help yourself. You know better, and I feel like that takes that. It's like your spiritual muscle is like any muscle in your body. It's like you have to work it out. You have to get those reps in of resisting that temptation. And eventually you become the witness. I think you start seeing yourself from the outside and almost laughing at yourself when you see yourself getting riled up because you're like, oh, here we go again. Like, you can kind of see from almost a third party perspective how you're acting. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, why am I even getting upset about this? And, for me, every once in a while with work in particular, I'll start just cussing in my own house when something's going wrong, even though I know I don't care about it. Like I get so wrapped up in some moment and it's pissing me off so much that it's, usually I can get out of it. Every once in a while, I'll break and it's like, man, how did I even get? It's a glass of water. How did I like get so deep into this and forget who I was and how little of importance in the grand scheme of things this is. So I think we all have to assess our lives and really ask what's important. Will this matter in a year? Will this matter in 5 years? Will this matter in 10 years? Like what you're going through in this moment. And if you ask yourself that question, I find it generally whatever you're going through in that moment won't matter, even by the next day. Sometimes it will, obviously. So you put a little more importance on it, but you don't have to get so involved in things, especially when it's not going to matter. Let people be right. I think even Dr. Phil says something like, "Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy?" And I kind of take that approach with a lot of things. It's not worth these little arguments. You have to pick your battles. You don't want to get spiritual ADHD and forget the task you're meant to do. Get that glass of water. Stop running around, getting involved in all this stuff.